I don't hate a bet on them to make the playoffs either.
This is the most unhinged take.
Why?
Hello world and welcome back to Gridiron Campbell, the only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ron, and I'm joined by the entire collective, The Disciple, Brett Colson, Donnie, DP Peters, and the resident moose himself, Mo Nawara. If you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Got some fresh new graphics for you guys this year, so want everybody to enjoy those. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars only. Like a man dealing with a bulging disc here in Southern California. Matthew Stafford. Boys, it is great to be back. Great to be back talking ball. I'll be honest, one of the joys of the entire football season is being able to sit down with you guys once a week, talk ball, banter, laugh, and I am very grateful that this is season 11 where we get to do this. We have an amazing community in the Discord, bit.ly/DiscordMooths. If you want to get involved, we're having our very friendly pick 5 of our own. If you want to join and splash the pot a little bit, but just very excited to be able to chat with you folks and talk some football. And Mo, I'm just as worried as you. Everybody sends me their picks beforehand. They don't know any of the picks. I know. I need to organize the show. And there are a lot of team futures that I'm looking at for this week of the podcast to kick off the season. Mo, I'm not seeing a lot of disagreement, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's bad for entertainment value. Hopefully it's good for pick value, right?
That's right. This show is probably it's at its peak when we're calling each other idiots, or at least I'm calling people idiots. But hopefully for our wallets, this is a successful show because, yeah, outside of the AFC East, which there are some surprises in, there's a lot of agreeing here. There's some non-correlation here at the top, but there's not any direct disagreement. And let's start right off the top, where there's a ton of optimism from the collective on a team in the NFC North.
Go, Pack, go!
I was surprised to look back at some of the team figures from last year and see that the Green Bay Packers finished 3rd in total DVOA, finished 4th in offense EPA, and Mo and Brett are definitely back on the LaFleur train. Nobody as much as Brett, who likes them not only to win one of the toughest divisions in football, but Brett thinks they're going to be hoisting the Lombardi, at least at their price.
Maybe this is price. I'd like them to win the Super Bowl last year, too. I fell in love with the Packers last year. I liked them to upset the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs, which obviously did not happen, but they were in that game. They had a shot.
They could have been in the game if there was any consistency in the way fumbles were being treated in that game. But none of my business, I guess.
Yeah. But they could have played with the Eagles. They did play with the Eagles. They matched up well with the Eagles. I felt like this was a top 3-4 team, certainly in the NFC. Metrics had them as a top 3 team in the entire NFL, but they didn't deserve the 7 seed that they were given and had to face the Eagles in Philly. Relatively quiet off season for the Packers, but I don't see that as a bad thing with a team that's on the rise. You know, they got rid of a huge distraction in Jair Alexander, great football player, horrendous locker room guy. That might be a plus overall because they picked up Nate Hobbs and as a slot corner. They brought back Rasul Douglas. I think the big addition came in the draft with Matthew Golden. I think the one thing that really set them back in the playoffs last year was the fact that they had nobody who could separate and catch passes. That was the noticeable difference between the Packers and the Eagles to me, was that they just didn't have the weapons for Jordan Love. And I think Golden gives them that guy who can stretch the field now and make plays. So yeah, I love Green Bay with the NFC North wide open. I don't see a clear runaway favorite. So at plus 275, I like them to win the division. And yeah, at 2,200, I like them to win the Super Bowl as well. I think they could be right there with anybody in the NFL this year.
So you'll see as our show is laid out, we're going to start with some NFC teams. And generally, I believe the sentiment amongst us is you have this trio of teams in the AFC with the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens that are kind of sucking the value out of everything, because it would be a pretty shocking outcome for any team not named one of those three to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Whereas in the NFC, you've got the Eagles, who obviously returning champions, and then a wide open field as to who can challenge them for the conference and then win divisions outside of the NFC East. So I think you're going to see a lot of strong opinions from us with regards to the NFC. And Mo, how about you pile on? You too like the Packers to win the division.
Yeah, plus 250 I think is really good. I don't understand why there's a big difference between the Packers and the Lions. It's not like the biggest difference ever. Like the Lions are around plus 150, but I still think these teams should basically be dead even, to be honest. I mean, I just have major question marks about basically all the other teams in the division. I think with the Lions, just we know it's the coaching, but also I think interior offensive line, big question mark there this year, and their schedule is insane. So you see what the Packers are dealing with in the cross matches, and it's the Broncos, Cardinals, and Panthers is their different teams that they face compared to the Lions facing the Rams, Chiefs, and Bucks. So that's pretty massive. Like the Packers still have a pretty tough schedule. Like you basically have to have a tough schedule when you play in that division, but those cross match differences are pretty huge in favor of the Packers. So that's a big differentiator, and I just like how deep this team is. You just look at it up and down. They have depth on the offensive line with literally a first round pick last year is on the second team. We know how many receivers they have. And then even some of the on defense, I don't mind some of the defenders they have that are in the second line. And my main question on the defense is the defensive backs. That's kind of the main weakness I'm seeing outside of McKinney. I don't like these defensive backs very much. The corners especially aren't very good. I will say, unlike Brett, maybe I don't know how Brett feels about Jair going to his next team, because maybe it's just a Packers thing for him. With maybe it just the relationship got rotten. I think he's an insane value at one year, $10 million for the Ravens, but I understand why the Packers were sick of him, so I'm not going to ding them too hard for letting him walk.
One of the positives to what Brett was saying, where the Packers don't have that alpha receiver, now adding Matthew Golden, is they just have so much depth at that position that they can deal with an injury, which they are right now with Jaden Reed walking around in a walking boot. So they just have so much depth at such an important position that even though they might not have that number one standout, there's so many weapons for LaFleur and Love to work with. Let's keep it correlated, because DP is afraid of the brain drain in Detroit Motor City, and he is laddering the unders for those Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely scared of losing both coordinators. Mo, you mentioned the interior offensive line too. I mean, Ragnow is a beast. That's a big conduit to what happens on the offensive line. So some question marks there as in terms of how that fits. I took under 7.5. I took under 8.5. I took them to miss the playoffs, the Lions. I just think if this goes south, it could go south pretty bad. So I'll bet on that downside as opposed to just, taking the under on whatever the regular win total is. So I just think there's a lot of question marks. And maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe this team is just too good from a talent perspective, and they're going to be able to figure things out with these new coordinators. But yeah, I know at times we've all kind of jokingly both loved and hated Dan Campbell. I mean, like, I think we love the fact that he's just an absolute bull in a china shop, but we like kind of hate him as an idiot head coach in a lot of ways. So like that, what if that just all falls apart with new coordinators? And I could just see it going really, really bad in Detroit. And I mean, not that I necessarily think it's going to last. I think that they'll probably land on their feet when they find a coaching staff and whatnot. Maybe that's a 1-year thing. Maybe it's not. But for this year, yeah, I think it could go pretty bad.
I think we're going to know fairly quickly what a John Morton is with regards to the offense.
Aren't you supposed
Detroit.
to know?
Well, I was just about to get to it. This guy has a very interesting track record in the NFL. Of course, had a cup of coffee with the New York Jets in 2017. Then he fell off the face of the earth for 2 years, just didn't coach football, came back, was an assistant with the Raiders, then an assistant with the Lions, and then was the pass game coordinator the last 2 years under Sean Payton in Denver. So, he's very much a journeyman, doesn't have a ton of pedigree in this league. And with Tanner Engstrand gone, who seemed like he was the next man up, it was very intentional that they skipped Engstrand for somebody outside of the organization. So I'm very curious to see how that worked out. Where I will give Dan Campbell some flowers is when they pulled the plug on the offense initially and ended up going with Ben Johnson. That was a Dan Campbell move. Dan Campbell saw that the offense wasn't working, got directly involved, made the change to Ben Johnson. So can he get his hands dirty again and have a positive impact on the offense again? Perhaps. They have so much talent on that side of the ball that it would not surprise me if they kept it rolling. But I'm very dubious of what's going to happen with this team losing both of their coordinators, especially with the market respecting Ben Johnson so much in Chicago. All right, a little bit of non-correlation sticking with you, DP. You're betting another ladder, and you're betting the Vikings wins ladder, leaning in to JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I'll be the first to tell you that the JJ McCarthy era could go entirely wrong. He's a big freaking question mark. That said, that offensive line, I think, is still going to be very good. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is very good, especially with quarterbacks. I like the defensive side of the ball. I think the Lions can certainly have the potential, as I just laid out, to take a step back. And I think the Vikings can still be pretty darn decent. I don't totally hate where the other guys are on with the Packers. I kind of like them too as well. But just looking at the different ladder options, I was getting a better price on the Vikings. So I said, you know what, this is where I'm going to stick my money. So yeah, I just think this division is kind of wide open. But I think it's going to be between the Vikings and the Packers at the end of the day, and I like the price that I'm getting on the Vikings. So, JJ McCarthy, please don't F this up, man. Please.
After watching what KOC did last year, it's hard for me to denigrate any positive bets or anything in their direction, but I am... The Justin Jefferson comments about McCarthy have me a little worried. Him coming out and saying, it's going to take time. That's like the nicest receiver thing that he could have said is it's going to take time, which, again, I think we'll know fairly quickly with how well they were able to operate last year with a suboptimal quarterback in Darnold. I think we'll know fairly quickly whether or not McCarthy has the goods. All right, let's move south. Mo, we're going to take the lead here. As you like, Michael Penix and the Atlanta Falcons to not only go over their win total, but at the price of $250 to win the NFC South.
Yeah, and actually, we're not going to go over any more Super Bowl stuff, I guess. But if you made me pick one Super Bowl future, it would probably be Falcons 80-1. It would either be Falcons or Chiefs. But, I just think they're live. A lot of teams are live in the NFC, and this team's 80-1, which seems crazy to me. When I could easily see a path to 10, 11 wins here, and then who knows what can happen when you don't have to face Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson in the playoffs until the very last game, right? So, yeah, I just look at this Falcons team, and yeah, did they do something crazy and likely overpay for trying to shore up their pass rush? Yeah, that's a future Falcons problem, though. That's not a 2025 Falcons problem. That's likely to help them this year. So we know how bad the defense was last year, but I still think there's some players here. I thought Jesse Bates has been a tremendous player ever since they signed him. He's delivered every dollar of value that they paid him. So they still have, AJ Terrell, So if they can get something like league average play up front, then I think this offense can carry them across the finish line the rest of the way as far as getting over their win total and, the divisional future, which is plus 250. The Bucs, I think, are slightly more talented than the Falcons, but the price difference is big enough that I think the Falcons are the play here. This offense is one of the better offenses in the NFL, and it's basically coming back intact. Everything besides the center, I believe. And yes, he was good, but I think there's still enough on this offensive line that it should still be one of the better units. And one thing that's nice when you're betting a win total over here is there's no team more insulated from a quarterback injury, at least unless they trade Kirk Cousins than the Atlanta Falcons. They have the best backup quarterback in the NFL. I thought Penix looked good, man. I didn't think a lot of him coming out of the draft, but very strong arm, and I thought he looked pretty comfortable in the pro game. So I'm cautiously optimistic there. And the Bucs already dealing with obviously Tristan Wirfs being hurt, and also just having a very thin team in general. I think the potential for Baker regression, losing their offensive coordinator. There's definitely some question marks there. Obviously, the Saints probably the worst team in the NFL. And then the Panthers are probably still at least another year away. So the way is definitely clear for the Falcons. I thought the coaching staff did a pretty good job last year. And considering everything they were dealing with Kirk Cousins, how bad he was, I thought they did their best. And I think I'm still willing to give this staff a chance. Raheem Morris, I thought he's done okay. So I don't like to bet on coaches that I don't believe in, but I don't believe in this staff, but I don't not believe in this staff either. So I think there's enough talent on this team. The biggest problem when I look at this team, honestly, is I think they're one injury away from absolute death, and that's if Drake London got hurt. They're so thin at pass catcher that I just do not think they could survive a Drake London injury. But he's been a tank so far, so hopefully that continues here.
This isn't the year. This isn't the Kyle Pitts year. It's not happening.
I've been sending those memes to some people and just and then I get fed more Kyle Pitts memes by the algorithm, so I get all the Kyle Pitts memes, and because the memes have become self-aware when what's his name Penix went into the presser and was like, "We're getting Kyle Pitts the ball this year," and they just started laughing. The memes have become self-aware. It's embarrassing.
Brett, you laugh, but you too like the Falcons at this price to win the NFC South.
Yeah, Mo's right. This offense could just be great. It was defined last year. Their offense was defined by turnovers. I mean, it was just Cousins throwing the ball all over the place and handing games away in the second half, which was super frustrating when you had them in the contest.
Oh, you remember that Chargers game? Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm glad.
Here's the thing about this Kirk. Here's the thing about the Kirk Cousins. I don't know if you guys watched Quarterback on Netflix. Do you guys remember them disclosing that Kirk Cousins had an elbow injury or shoulder injury last year? We all thought that he was losing velocity because he wasn't able to push off the Achilles. But in week, I don't know, early in the season, he got wrecked on his shoulder, and that's why he couldn't throw the ball. In practice, he had no velocity on his throws, and they just didn't disclose it.
You could tell in quarterback that he legit could not move his arm.
He literally could not throw the football. He could barely grip the ball.
Well, velocity isn't a problem for the current starter, so we have that going for us.
Yeah, this is true.
He can throw, man. But yeah, I do like the Falcons a lot. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, too, I mean, they prioritized pass rushers in the offseason. They brought in Leonard Floyd. They drafted 2 guys in the first round, which I think they reached probably on Pierce. But that should give them a much needed. We've been talking for years about how they can't generate pressure. So maybe this year they finally will be able to do that. The schedule is relatively soft. They've got 12 games indoors, which should benefit this offense that we think could fly. And the Bucs, at some point, I just think this team's going to take a step back. Age is going to catch up to them at several positions, including wide receiver. And the Wirfs injury is huge. I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but they did very little. They have very little to fix that gap. So I like the Bucs to fall off this year, and I think the Falcons are going to get it done in the division.
It also helps that they get to play the New Orleans Saints twice, and I have to talk about this Saints team because the trio of Shuck, Rattler, and Hayner, we were talking about this in the Discord today. If you were to Frankenstein these three guys and take their absolute best qualities and put them together, I still don't think you get a quarterback that meets the threshold to play in pro football. This team, and we see this every year, going into the season, people are like, oh, this team might go winless. This team legitimately could go 0-17 with this offensive output from the quarterback position. On top of that, they were 27th in weighted defense, DVOA, last year. They didn't get any better. All they did was get older. Where Demario Davis and Nathan Shepard are integral pieces to this Saints defense in 2025. Saints all under 4.5 plus 125. I mean, Saints no play. This is the where else you're getting 10%. Saints no playoffs minus 1050. In what universe is this team making the playoffs? I looked at it. Every year we look at the NFC South and some team is just barely squeaking in. Since they expanded to 3 playoff teams, no NFC South team has won a wild card. You either win the division or you're going to Cancun come January. So, yeah, I get that it's a pretty hefty price, minus 1,000. But I mean, this team is going to be so bad. Kellen Moore, has just been a run-of-the-mill offensive coordinator the last couple of years. He was handed the keys to a Ferrari last year in Philadelphia, and all he had to do was drive straight, which he did successfully. So, yeah, this just seems like the season from hell for
Not that it matters, but who do we think they go with a quarterback in week 1?
Rattler's a big favorite, I think. He's like minus 150 or something. Field or whatever.
Terrifying.
I heard Shuck's been getting his ass kicked in practice, so I'm not hearing anything good there. So sounds like Rattler's going to be the man. So yeah, I mean, I wish the Saints good luck, but I don't think things are going to go well. I thought this team was the clear-cut worst team, and I was pretty surprised to see that that's not really considered to be the case. A lot of people have the Browns right there with them, I guess, and I think the Browns are pretty clear favorites for least wins, but that's also because they have the hardest schedule in the NFL. So that's not a problem for the Saints, and that's why their win total is, I think, actually maybe a hair higher than the Browns. I think it's close.
All right, let's move to the NFC West, where, I mean, I think this is the most shocking thing that came across my desk, where Brett seems to be, and it could be off the top, talking about Matthew Stafford and his bulging disc, which is, announcers out there, be very careful enunciating disc. Brett loves the Cardinals. I don't know how else to put it. I'm flabbergasted. I can't even string words together. Brett loves the Arizona Cardinals.
I think this team's due for a bounce back year. They were actually good last year.
2025 for the Cardinals.
Weren't they kind of good last year, though? They faced a brutal schedule. 6 of their first 7 games last year were against playoff teams, and they fought their way through that, and they won 8 games. So this year's schedule is much friendlier, and the offense faces one of the easier schedules in the league, which I think is going to really give this passing offense, and Marvin Harrison especially, an opportunity to take a huge leap this year. With McBride and Kyler, I think this could be one of the better passing offenses in the NFC this year. And an area of weakness we've talked about, similar to the Falcons, is that this team has never been able to rush the passer, but they invested heavily up front, and they added multiple defensive linemen through the draft, free agency. They've got bodies up front now that should be able to finally create some semblance of a pass rush, which is huge in this division because All the other quarterbacks in this division are statues. They can't move. So, yeah, the Stafford thing is part of this as well. I think with the back injury, you have to be concerned. He didn't practice again today. I mean, if he misses time, you're getting Stafford light in Jimmy G. I've been a Jimmy G guy on this pod for years as it relates to market perception, but this guy is he's getting so old, and he looks even older when he steps on the field. So I think the Rams need Stafford, and I think when you bake in that injury, it prices in some value on the Cardinals going into the season. And then on top of that, we'll talk about Seattle, but I think they're going to stink with Darnold in a new regime. And the 49ers don't instill any fear into me anymore with Purdy in this hodgepodge receiving unit. So yeah, I like the Cardinals quite a bit. I've got them in my account over 9.5 wins at plus 125, and then plus 450 on the division I think is stealing. I don't see why this team is plus 450 to win the division.
I hope Kyler's not a big Battlefield guy. Battlefield 6 in beta right now. Everyone's super hyped about it. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. The Cardinals they finished 10th in offense EPA, 12th in total DVOA. I guess I must have just completely Rip Van Winkled through the entire Cardinal season. All I remember is Trey McBride getting like 1,400 yards and 0 touchdowns, and everyone freaking out about touchdown variants. Speaking
they
of,
had an
I know
insane rushing attack.
Yeah, James.
I want to check Brett's YouTube history and see how many highlight videos of Kyler Murray he watched. I want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know.
I want to know. I want to know how many Trey McBride shares he has in best ball. That's what I want to know.
It's actually not that high. I'm way higher on Bowers.
Brett should really have to disclose his fantasy impact on all before any takes are given. He probably has a crap ton of Atlanta Falcons. I can already tell.
If you want to know, they are in the Discord. So I do
That's
post
right.
my exposure.
bit.ly/Discord moose.
You know what?
In
Can I just
the fantasy
say?
channel.
You know what makes me ill when I look at this Cardinals roster, though. I cover your ears, Brett, but we're gonna talk kickers. Chad Ryland is your starting kicker? Come on, man. You can't find somebody better than Chad Ryland. That's going to cost them some games. He was the worst.
The Jets brought in 41-year-old Nick Folk to compete with, I don't even know that we have some like 240-pound, the thicker kicker. This guy he's a house. Went 3 for 3 on Saturday though, so we'll see how that goes. Mo, kick us off. Brett kind of alluded to his Hawks negativity, and Mo, you two are aligned. You both have under 7.5 wins for Sam Darnold and Seattle.
Yeah, I want to first say that I love this defense. Man, they could be so good. But as we've seen year after year, how many examples? Rich knows this very well. If the offense sucks, sometimes the defense quits, okay? So that could be in play here. So I'm looking at this defense and I'm just very excited for it, but then I just scroll up to the offense and I'm horrified because I just see problems everywhere, man. I mean, Sam Darnold, the biggest problem here is that we have Sam Darnold coming off an amazing season in ideal conditions, and now, okay, if you made me pick between, Sam Darnold and Geno Smith on a pure talent level, it's probably within reason that they're pretty close. But one thing you can never take away from Geno is that man knows how to play football under pressure. And I do not think Sam Darnold does. And that is a skill you are going to need on this Seattle team, man. I know that they invested a first-round pick in this lineman. He's still a rookie. He's still probably going to be average at best because he's a rookie in pro football and he's playing on the offensive line, and that's very hard. Okay, and then Charles Cross is solid. So that's 2 maybe decent pieces. And then the rest of the pieces all look below par. So you have maybe 3 bad linemen and 2, if everything goes right, 2 like decent above average linemen. I mean, this should be a bottom 5 O-line, and I do not think Sam Darnold is going to thrive in that situation. We saw what happened late in the season when the Rams overwhelmed this offensive line. Detroit put him under a lot of pressure, and he absolutely crumbled. And Then you have a receiving core that I think is much longer on name value than talent. You have Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who both, I think, need to play in the slot. I mean, I don't know who's playing outside on this team other than MVS. And if that's the guy who's playing outside for you and carrying your water from there, I can tell you that it's not going to go very well unless Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. So, question marks up and down this offense, and we all know that offense matters more than defense. I believe this defense is going to be very good. I believe they are going to do their damnedest to keep the Seahawks in games, but I just don't know how long that's going to last, and I don't know if the offense is crumbling, if we could see another Jets situation where the defense just folds up shop at some point in the season. So, yeah, give me all the Seattle unders. I know ODB is going to be mad at us for believing in Geno and not believing in Sam Darnold, but the way that they're going to operate in these circumstances, I mean, did anyone watch Sam Howell when he came in against that Packers? Speaking of, I was at ODB's. That was horrifying to watch. Geno might have been the only guy in the league outside of the superstars who could have kept the Seahawks afloat last year, for all we know.
First ODB mention of the season. Congrats on yet another WSOP bracelet, my guy. Brett, I don't know if there's anything left, but pile on with this Hawks under.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just a bet against Sam Darnold in a new system behind a terrible offensive line, probably a bottom 3 offensive line, without KOC holding his hand. How can you trust that? And like Mo said, the defense should be very good, but downgrade at quarterback, downgrade at receiver with Metcalf gone. They bring in Cooper Kupp. And yeah, this offensive line is not going to be able to protect, which is a nightmare for a guy who can't move out of the pocket. So I love the under 7.5.
So I just want to throw this out there to close out shop in the NFC West. Everybody's telling me that Kyle Shanahan's a genius. And everyone is telling me that they've got the easiest schedule since Kingdom Come. So why are the Niners 6th, I believe, in the most wins market at plus 1,200? And why is Kyle Shanahan plus 2,000 to win Coach of the Year? Those things don't really jive for me. So if Shanahan is this genius and this schedule is that easy, these two should be certainly in play for this Niners team. That
it sets up very well.
Say what you want. Yeah, and then you get Robert Saleh back, who's back in. He Peter Principled himself into a position that he just was not prepared to be in as a head coach. He's back at defensive coordinator where, I mean, there are guys on this team that he developed, right? Quincy Williams was off the scrap heap from the Jaguars. Jamie Sherwood, scrap heap player that he turned these two players into, for Quincy, an all-pro player, for Sherwood, a guy worth a second contract. He will be able to develop the defensive players on San Francisco. So if all these things I'm being told are true, these two bets are extremely live, and I'm very interested in both of them. Coach of the Year included, because usually they try to give it to the first-year guy or the guy that took his team further than people had anticipated. But I think if, once again, he does it with Purdy and somehow finds a way to be the top team in the NFC, I think people will be all the way back in on Shanahan as a difference maker, and he might have an opportunity to win this award. We'll keep it out west.
So what's the number there? Because I haven't looked at those yet. Just curious what you're looking at there.
So for most wins, it's plus 1,200, and for Coach of the Year,
I did see that for Coach of the Year,
plus 2,000. I believe he's like 7th or 8th in that market.
Okay. I mean, historic was the word used to describe the schedule. So I did look at it, and it is incredibly soft.
I mean, you look at the Warren Sharp graph, and it's like there's always outliers on both ends, and it's like it's in a different stratosphere on the top left. Like how easy the schedule is allegedly. So show me you're a genius, Shanahan. Show me you truly are one of the best, and go out, line up these tomato cans, and knock them over. We'll keep it in the West, but we'll switch conferences, and we'll go to DP, who is fading another iconic coach. This one Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers taking the under on 9.5 wins.
I mean, I'm just kind of over Justin Herbert, to be honest. I can't hear anyone else tell me how great this guy is. At some point, you gotta be elite and make up for all the other deficiencies around you. I'm sorry. So I'm done with the freaking excuse making. I feel like this guy is nothing more than Trevor Lawrence, and we've dumped on Trevor Lawrence a lot recently, so I'm dumping on Justin Herbert now. So I don't like it.
That's it. Mo, pile on.
But it also, Rich, it also correlates with two of my other plays.
Correct.
Yes.
Continue, Mo. You like the under. You also like alt unders on the Bolts.
Yeah, I mean, man, it hurts me to bet against Justin Herbert. Unlike Donnie, I do still believe in Justin Herbert, and it hurts me a little bit to bet under on a situation where Harbaugh is the coach, because I think he does bring probably a decent floor, but I just think this team got so lucky last year with their schedule, man. I was so ready to fade this team. I think we all were in the playoffs. We all lined up for Texans +3. We all know how that went, because the Chargers played a clown schedule, dude. This defense had the most absurdly easy set of quarterbacks. You want to talk about lining up the tomato cans. I don't think this defense is good. I think they're just decent, and they're going to have to play a schedule that actually includes some good quarterbacks this year. I don't like this defensive line at all. They lost some pretty key starters there. I think it was Puna Ford and obviously Bosa are out the door. Those are very good players. This looks like a thin and not very talented group to me. Looking at the offense, we know they already took a major blow, obviously losing their left tackle. Well, now that hole is going to be at right tackle because Joe Alt's moving over, but I still think there's big holes on this. I cannot believe this team has not found a better tight end than Will Dissly. He was the worst player on the field last year in that game. I think he single-handedly caused 2 of those turnovers. It's incredible to me that he's still the starter there. And just like a second-round receiver, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, who knows what's going to happen there. They need him to be good right away, or this group is going to be pretty awful. So I just don't think there's a whole lot around Herbert on that side of the ball. And I don't think I think this defense was a paper tiger last year. So, hey, I'm just going to tip my hat if they prove me wrong and come out and just start dominating people again. But they played a clown schedule of opposing quarterbacks.
ODB, get ready to smile, my guy, because we not only have one member of the collective, but 2 members of the collective that are bullish on your guy, Bo Nix. And we will start with Brett, who likes their price, Mo, cover your ears, to win the AFC West.
I want to get in on Denver before this team takes that next step. And they already made a huge step last year. But as you look at this roster, this has the makings of a team that could compete in the next couple years for a Super Bowl. I believe that. As Kansas City gets older, as these elite quarterbacks around the AFC get older, Denver's lurking. And I think they could make some noise, especially in the regular season this year. With the sleepy Chiefs, they can't repeat what they did last year. Not possible. They performed at the absolute outlier as far as their regular season performance last year. I like Denver to end their streak this season as KC sleepwalks through the regular season. Denver's schedule is not easy, but they start with a pretty favorable stretch. I think I saw they're favored in 7 of their first 10 games. I love this defense, ranked number 1 in EPA last season. Front 7, talented. They're deep. They brought in Mo's guy Hufanga. It's safety. They brought in Dre Greenlaw from the Niners. If these guys stay healthy, I think the Broncos have a top 3 defense that can just strangle teams. And then offensively, Nix, I hated on him a lot last year, but he really came through towards the end of the season. I think he'll only get better in year 2 behind an elite offensive line and an upgraded group of weapons. They're old, Evan Ingram and J.K. Dobbins, but they bring in R.J. Harvey. Could be a fun little piece to add speed and splash plays to this offense. I think this is a very balanced offensive attack that's going to be difficult to stop. And then, yeah, around the rest of the division, I mentioned the Chiefs, but like the Chargers, the Slater injury is massive. And I think that defense takes a huge step back. Like Mo said, they way overperformed their numbers last year. So I think the Broncos do have a really good shot to win the division at plus 310. And I don't hate a AFC championship bet either. You just don't know with these quarterbacks, like the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, they're all one quarterback away from calling it a season. And I think Denver could just sneak up on some teams. So I haven't looked at that price yet, actually, but I do like Denver division and potentially AFC champions.
Mo, I'll give you a chance to retort with regards to the Chiefs, but first, Donnie has to pile on because he has Broncos over 10.5 plus 170.
Yeah, I like the price here. I agree wholeheartedly with Brett on the defense, the offensive line, the enhanced weapons around Bo Nix. What I'll add is that, I don't necessarily think Bo Nix is a world beater, but I just really am drawn to the fact that that's who Sean Payton wanted. He went out and got his guy. He works in whatever system Sean Payton wants to install, and he really is the perfect fit for this team. And I think that can go a really long way. You're not really trying to force something with something that you may not have wanted or you're handed to a quarterback. I mean, this is who Payton wanted, and it works. I will also add that I feel like, personally, this is chalky this year, so I'm a little bit worried about it. I just hear a lot of people talking about the Broncos. So, that's kind of giving me a little bit of trepidation, but I do agree wholeheartedly with Brett on everything that he said.
I have to agree, and this is kind of rule of stubborn. Again, shout out to ODB. I killed Peyton because of the way he used Russell Wilson trying to jam a round peg into a square hole when we know Russ is the deep ball, max EPA per play, low success rate quarterback. And he tried to get him to play his system unsuccessfully as opposed to calling a game that would better suit Russell Wilson. But like you said, he has found a quarterback who better fits his system, who can run the play action rollout, dink and dump, multi-layered crosser type offense in Bo Nix. I'm still very dubious when it gets tough that Bo Nix is going to be the guy. This is still an offense that finished 16th in EPA per play last year, but I get it. The team around him, the offensive line, the play calling, the defense is very strong. Mo, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Chiefs perhaps getting dethroned in the division by this Broncos team.
I mean, it could happen. It wouldn't stun me. I think the Broncos are good. I think it won't happen, obviously, but I think the Chiefs have the best team in the NFL, man. I mean, I just look up and down this roster, and I think they've done a good job plugging the holes. There weren't many holes. There's talent. There's depth. I think the Chiefs are ready to rock again. But, yeah, Denver has a good team. I still think there's some pretty major concerns here. Obviously, anytime you concentrate that much value in the defense, things are fragile, right? If the offense plays well and executes, they're probably going to still score some points on you, and then it's on your offense to respond. Can Denver respond? Maybe. I'm not as convinced as Brett that this group of weapons is going to be it. I'm concerned about Courtland Sutton. I thought he was incredible last year. I didn't think he had that level of play left in him. In all honesty, ever since he tore his ACL, he really has not been the same player until last year. He really bounced back. I am having a hard time buying that that's more than like a 1-year spike, just based on the way he has looked the past 4 years, aside from that year. So the depth behind him is basically non-existent. This is another Drake London situation where if Courtland Sutton were to get hurt, I think the entire operation is basically going to fall apart. I'm not excited at all about Evan Ingram. I think he is definitely washed. Yes, he is an upgrade, but I think he's a washed upgrade, so I don't think he's going to do as much as his name value might say. So yeah, I still think they're at least one playmaker short when it comes to playing with the big boys. But yeah, Denver has a good team, so yeah, with some luck, maybe some things go wrong for the Chiefs. Yeah, I could see this happening.
I'm prepared for the Chiefs to definitely come back to reality, meaning they're going to be a lot more like the non-sleepy Chiefs than we are used to. I mean, getting rave reviews about Xavier Worthy in camp. It's unbelievable that Simmons fell to them to just stand in and play left tackle for them. And with all the worries about this Rashee Rice pending suspension, there are three guys that my guy JJ comps all his prospects to based on just straight up data. And one of Jalen Royal's three comps was Rashee Rice. So if they can get the rook online quick, if Xavier Worthy can take the step, if Simmons can step in and protect right away, the Chiefs could start to look like the Chiefs of old. But before we get out of the AFC West, Mo, you're bullish on another team, which you gave some flowers to their quarterback earlier. You like over 7.5 for the Raiders at plus 145.
This is probably my least confident pick, but I think I am going to have a bit on this one. I just think this is a relatively solid team, man, and it's 7.5 with plus to the over. It's that hard to imagine the world where the Raiders are close to 500, especially if the Chargers are not as strong as I think the market thinks and a lot of people think. I think Geno Smith and Pete Carroll bring a floor and a level of professionalism to this franchise that they have not had. We know Pete Carroll has a history of overachieving. Yes, his lack of tactical acumen makes him maybe a lower ceiling coach, but he is going to get guys to play hard, play together, play to the system. He's Mike Tomlin. He's Mike Vrabel. He's all these rah-rah guys. Yes, they are probably going to get out-schemed by the Ben Johnsons and Andy Reids of the world, but this stuff matters too. And I don't think the Raiders are just like full of holes the way they have necessarily been in the past. I mean, they brought in reasonable players like Jeremy Chin. I actually thought Eric Stokes was good his rookie season with Green Bay. So with Pete Carroll's history of coaching up DBs, I don't think the defensive backroom maybe is going to be as bad as it looks on paper. That's definitely, the back seven is definitely the weak point. Obviously, the pass rush should be very good. So maybe that can cover up for some of it. I don't think this team should basically be world beaters or anything like that, but there's enough between Geno, the offensive line, Genty, Bowers. There's enough here for this team to be close to 500, and it's like plus 120 or close to that for over 7.5. So I think that's at least worth a look.
Okay, I have a question for Mr. Minotti.
The Bills make me wanna shout.
Can the Bills win the AFC East with Mitchell Trubisky or Mike White at quarterback?
Probably. Probably.
I said this about the Chiefs last year. The Bills might be quarterback injury proof, dude. And they have a quarterback who never gets hurt, but
they're bad.
Mo and I are completely aligned. Mo and I are completely aligned on two picks in this division. One of them is Bills minus 280 to win the AFC East. Why aren't they being priced like the prime Patriots? Can somebody help me?
Yes, they should be minus 1,000. Thank you.
What team in this division
I forgot to send you this one, Rich. I have it too.
Somebody needs to explain it to me. The other one correlates with this. I think the Patriots are being massively overrated right now. And they are the only logical challengers, I think, to the Bills, where the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins are going to fire Mike McDaniel before Halloween. I think that thing is just going to absolutely crater right off of the bat. I mean, Tyreek Hill, he's practicing, he's not practicing. It just seems like a tinderbox that is just ready to explode down in Miami. And then with the Jets, I think the arrow is going to be pointed up. I think this team's going to play extremely hard this year. I think they're going to be really tough on defense, and the offensive line is going to be a top 10 unit. But there's just way too many question marks at too many important positions, quarterback, receiver, edge, for them to take a real step and be a surprise double-digit win team. So, like, Mo, who is... I can't find a path outside of massive injury where somebody is challenging for this division.
I got nothing here because I'm looking at the Bills and I'm looking at these other teams and they're not even in the same league. I mean, the thing about the Bills is I have some questions about them, but they're all like top end questions. How are the Bills going to beat the Chiefs? How are the Bills going to beat the Ravens? They got very lucky to beat the Ravens last year. I don't believe in Joe Brady. I hate the way he coaches football. But the fact of the matter is it works in the regular season. And the Bills have such a high floor because they have Josh Allen, they have an elite offensive line, and they run the piss out of the ball when they get ahead. So nobody can come back on them. But then does that work against the best teams? I don't think so. So all my questions for the Bills are when they face good competition. I think they're going to absolutely steamroll all the bad teams on their schedule, and there's a lot of them again. This team is plus 325 to have the best record for a reason. They have an incredibly easy schedule. There's easy schedules, but you expect those for the fourth place teams, right? The Bills have an easy schedule and they have a first place schedule. So things are going to be quite a bit easier for them compared to the Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, Eagles. Go look at those teams' schedules and then go look at the Bills' schedule.
Like I said, the only path of resistance without major injury is probably the New England Patriots. Mo and I are going to give the bear case for the Patriots in a moment, but Donnie, I will cede the floor to you. The blinders, the Vrabel blinders seem to be on because you like Pat's overs.
I do like Pat's overs, but I will say that they're in no way, shape, or form challenging the Buffalo Bills. I don't care if half the Bills team gets injured. Like what? So just don't go too crazy with it. I mean, I have them over 8.5 wins, over 9.5 wins. I think they could possibly get to 10-7. Yeah. I mean, I think just the fact that they have a new coaching staff, because the coaching staff was so god-awful, the offensive line has to be better. There's no way it can be worse. No way.
Does it?
And the weapons have to be better.
Does it have?
Yes, it has to be. Come on,
stop. Does the offensive line have to be better, though?
And we've been through this song and dance a million times before. Okay, I know you might have forgotten because he took a year or however the heck long off, but Vrabel, Magic, he's got it all figured out. Okay, there's gonna be 3 wins, maybe 4 wins where they had no business winning that damn game, but somehow Vrabel did it, and we're gonna be talking about it. Vrabel this, Vrabel that, blah blah blah, whatever. It happens every single year. Okay.
I'm very concerned about this offensive line. As somebody who watched Morgan Moses play football recently, to pin him as a starter, where it sounds like he's struggling in camp right now, the entire left-hand side of the offensive line are ungraded rookie players. Something Campbell with the smallest arms ever. Drake May looking a little Zach Wilson-ish with the clueless turnover over the weekend. And then on defense, I just get this. This feels like the Eagles redeem team, AAU style, just a bunch of guys cobbled together that they tossed money at. That people's cap for this team is literally Drake May, arrow up, so they're going to win a bunch of games. But there's no unit on this team where I feel very comfortable in backing. And Diggs off the injury, something Booty, Hollins, Douglas. Yeah, I just think this is going to be a run-of-the-mill below 500 teams. I've got the same bet that Mo has, under 7.5 plus 150. They have got a lot of work to do. And outside of Campbell being incredible right away and this offensive line playing somehow league average, I don't really see a path to them being very competitive every week outside of holding on for dear life in some low scoring games, which Mo, we know in 2025, it just doesn't work that much.
Yeah. Why do people think this defense is good? I'm confused. I love names. The secondary. It looks pretty solid to me. But
people see a bunch of names. They see Peppers and Landry, Barmore coming back. Like they see all these big names, Carlton Davis, and they just assume that it's going to all meld and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary looks like it has enough talent to me, but the pass rush looks just okay. Up front just looks okay in general. I don't know. Like, I don't know if this team's getting stops. And, at least I know the Seahawks should get stops. I don't know if this team's getting stops. And then I look at this offense and I'm like, what if Will Campbell's great? Who cares? Is that enough? I mean, there's a third-round rookie and one of the worst centers in the NFL next to him. I mean, this offensive line looks atrocious to me. And then the weapons is just like the only person that's, under 32 is Pop Douglas. I mean, how is that going to work? I don't know, man. I just think I like Drake May, but I just think this team is being massively overhyped. It's like you said, just everyone's just like Drake May plus Vrabel equals 8 wins. I don't know, man. What if the rest of this roster isn't ready?
And what if Vrabel is just your patented defensive coach, which, yeah, he is for sure a floor raiser. I think bringing in Mike Vrabel raises the floor of your team. But they're being priced 9 wins right now. Going from one of the worst teams in the league to 9 wins. Like, that is very aggressive growth year over year for a team.
This looks like offense 22 and defense 16 to me. So, I mean, I don't know how that equals 9 wins.
Right there with you. All right, Donnie, time for you and I to align on fading a man I unfortunately had to root for last year in Aaron Rodgers. This is the year. This is the year the Tomlin train goes off of the track. So let me just read some numbers for you guys from last year for Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers finished 20th in EPA per play, 24th in success rate, 25th in QBR, 32nd in completion percentage over expected. And that 20th in EPA per play against the Jaguars last year. He generated a total of 35 EPA across the entire season last year against the Jaguars, who had an historically bad defense. He had 21 of his 35 EPA in that game. He had 6.6 EPA on the Lazard Hail Mary against your Buffalo Bills, Brett. And for the rest of the season, for the other 15 games that Aaron Rodgers played quarterback in, he had a total of 7 EPA added over 15 games. This guy stinks. The Steelers' weapons stink. Roman Wilson looks like he's playing in 11 personnel. A guy that they tried to basically throw to the curb last year. They bring in DK Metcalf, who at this point seems like the worst pairing possible for Aaron Rodgers, who just wants to throw close to the line of scrimmage. DK Metcalf is an outside, beat your defender, down the field type player, which is just not the type of player Aaron Rodgers is right now. You've got the second oldest roster in the NFL in Pittsburgh. I mean, this could be teetering on disaster if injuries hit. You just have old, bad. I mean, Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey are the starting cornerback duo for a team in 2025. 9th toughest schedule per Vegas win totals. Half their games are against the Ravens, Bengals, and the NFC North. It just seems like a disaster waiting to happen in Pittsburgh. And I can't wait to sit back and watch. DP, pile on.
Yeah, I took them to miss the playoffs. I took under 6.5 wins. I took under 7.5 wins. I mean, I think, well, one, Aaron Rodgers is a freaking disaster. There's no way that this works, which is fine. Okay. And then their backups are horrific too. So it's not even like they'd be like, oh, we're just going to go to this guy. No, it was Mason Rudolph, possibly Skylar Thompson. I mean, who the hell knows? These guys are horrendous. I don't like the DK Metcalf pairing, like you said. I just feel like, generally speaking, they are throwing a whole bunch of Hail Marys all over the place with like kind of flashy names. And I mean, part of me is, one, that's just not how you build a team. Like, it's just, that never works. Two, that seems like such a disconnect for what Tomlin kind of always is. I feel like he's a team guy, a foundational guy, and this, I don't know. I feel like a lot of this stuff was probably not Tomlin's decision, which I think is weird. And I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I'm with you, Rich. I don't see how even Tomlin and his voodoo, shout out to Tomlin voodoo, can fix this disaster that's going to happen. I mean, him and Rodgers are just, there's no way this works. No, there's no way. No way.
It feels like the Jets last year, in that the Steelers are just going all in on these old, unreliable players, like one last shot, win one for the Gipper. And just like the Jets last year, it feels like it's just going to go all wrong. And everything's going to go pear-shaped. And Rodgers is going to be on McAfee throwing low blows at DK Metcalf for not running the red line in a key situation. And I just feel like I've seen this movie before. And there's a lot of historic precedence that is supporting the Steelers' price, which, yeah, I just think they're going to have a very tough go of it this year. Mo, you've got a pair of picks in the NFC South, and then Brett's got one click in the NFC East, and then a very fun parlay, and we'll get out of here. So, Mo, just give us your 2 clicks in the NFC South.
Okay, let's start with a rare positive thing for me, and I want to see what Brett thinks, because he was all in on this team for all the time the last few years. I think it's kind of crazy the Colts are plus 370 to win a pretty bad division here. I mean, I know that they have their problems, mainly at quarterback, but on the other hand, they have 2 quarterbacks that are okay, and the rest of the team is pretty good. Like, with the weapons they have, I mean, Pittman, Downs, and then you throw in a hopefully a good tight end with that. I think that's enough with the running game they have, and a very good offensive line. The defense is good, man. I mean, just like pretty good top to bottom. I really like the signings they made in the secondary. Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum are both quite good. They're getting older, but they're not ancient yet. They're not in Darius Slay territory, not even close. So I still think there's some tread left there. And this is just an overall pretty good team and a pretty bad division to me. So if Shane Steichen is the coach that I think he is, which I think he's done a pretty good job with not a lot of great around him, they should be right there. I know that Houston has a great defense, but again, we're talking about similar to what we were talking about with Seattle. If things go south for the offense, it might not necessarily matter. I mean, it could be the best defense in the NFL. I mean, it really could be, but it also could be the worst offensive line in the NFL. So, that's a lot to overcome, man. And I just don't like this Jags team at all. I don't think the Titans are really all that close to ready. And I guess that leads me into Jags under 7.5. I am looking at this team and I don't understand why anybody could be optimistic about this team. I really don't. This is another horrible offensive line, a quarterback that I believed in for a long time. I think he's just fine, though. I don't think Lawrence is like bad or good. I think he's just a guy who's decent. And, when you have a really bad offensive line in front of that guy, I don't think it's going to go super well. I mean, another team that just, they haven't gotten a replacement level tight end. So the weapons are just like, I mean, you have Brian Thomas, he's great. And then whatever after that, who knows what Travis Hunter is going to be.
I was going to say, whatever.
Horrible offensive line.
Travis Hunter, whatever.
Well, he's a rookie trying to learn 2 positions. Who knows what he's going to do? I don't know. But even if he's good, it's like this offensive line stinks. You got a first-time head coach. I don't know who Anthony Campanile is. I've never seen that name, and he's coordinating this defense. So, and it doesn't even have that much talent. It's below par in that sense. So yeah, the Jags just look like a below average team to me, and under 7.5 is plus. So yeah, give me some of that.
Duval. That's why people are excited.
Brett, you are the master. You were the master of AFC South long shots. You had CJ Stroud and them boys to win the division when Stroud was a
That's
rookie.
why I thought he was going to be on my team here.
Well, no, I mean, my rule
there
is
a rookie. There is a rookie in the division. I mean, would it be wild if the Titans won this division? Really? I agree that this is a heliocentric division where all the money is being pulled in Houston's direction, and for what reason, right? We've seen a quarterback who has regressed since his rookie year, like you said, Mo, an awful offensive line, and a defense that is on paper looking great, but why are we penciling in the Houston Texans winning this division? Cam Ward, the U baby. All right. Another rookie quarterback who might not start this season, but at some point this guy will be under center for Big Blue with your guy Dayball, Brett. You like the Giants over 6.5?
I do. Look, last year was rough. Just 3 wins, a lot of questions, especially on offense. The passing game was abysmal. Offensive line allowed way too much pressure, which just compounded problems for the quarterback. But I love what they've done in the offseason. They focused on the most critical issues, which is quarterback, and they've really bolstered up this defensive line. Am I wrong in saying this might be the best defensive line outside of maybe Philadelphia? Look at these guys. As far as just getting at the quarterback, they add Abdul Carter to Burns and Thibodeau. I mean, the blueprint is there. I love what the Giants have done on defense, and I think with Russell Wilson, he brings a veteran presence capable of stretching the field with Malik Neighbors. I think there's some excitement here, and yeah, you add him to my guy Dayball, who I think is creative and fearless. This team could just win 8 games, and I honestly don't hate a bet on them to make the playoffs either. So it could.
This is the most unhinged take of this entire podcast history.
Why?
I'm not kidding you guys. Because their schedule is absurd.
It's tough. But all they have to do is win 6.5 games.
I was with you till you brought up the playoffs, man.
Why not playoffs? They were in the playoffs 2 years ago.
I was on board. I was in the car with you, and then you mentioned playoffs, and I threw that effing door open, and I jumped out so effing fast, okay? I'm gone.
We get at least one team every year. We say no effing chance this team makes the playoffs. With this defensive line, I'm betting on that team possibly being the Giants this year.
So we're also obviously betting on Dallas remaining a dirtbag organization and Washington perhaps taking a step back. Like the Steelers, who Dinah and I touted against, they play, the NFC East plays the NFC North, which is tough. Or do they just play? No, they do play the NFC North. It's funny, they almost play them all in succession. They have Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit weeks 10 through 12. Look, I'm in on Dart. Dart looks like the exact type of guy that you want to bet on, right? Everyone was making the Zach Wilson comparisons during the draft process. The difference is that Zach Wilson was playing against farmers at BYU and Dart was playing in the SEC, right? He did have a lot of easy buttons in the Lane Kiffin offense. There's no doubt about that. And he was throwing to some demons down there with the Rebels. But I don't know. He's got the makeup of a guy that I would want to bet on. And we've seen what Daboll can do previously with some bad quarterback play. He couldn't get over the last couple of years, which was just, they were something DeVito, just really wretched quarterback play for the Giants. Now they've got 2 veterans and Dart. But yeah, feels like the Giants are a year away from being a team that gives some folks some trouble, and it might not be this year. But Brett is the king of the long shot, so I would not be shocked to look up in November and see a scrappy Giants team. And then Brett, give us your fun division parlay to get us out of here on a.
I love division parlays. I love division parlays. So I mean, I've mentioned my 4 favorite division winners. I've got to look back and see what the number was, but I've got Cardinals, Falcons, Broncos, and what was the other one? Falcons.
You might as well put the Giants in there with the way you're talking about them, bro. I mean, if you're gonna try and go for it, freaking go for it, okay?
I mean, the number I've already got is
coming full
insane.
circle.
It's like,
coming full circle. The last team.
Packers. That's what it was. Yeah, Falcons, Packers, Cardinals, Broncos. 360 to 1 at MGM with a 33% parlay boost. Without the parlay boost, 270 to 1 on those 4 teams. All not favored to win the division, but it's fun.
So I think the most prescient thing to come off of that insane tout is, boys and girls out there, when you are in your betting apps and when they give you these boosts, please, for the love of everything holy, don't put it on the minus 370 trying to eke out a little bit of profit. Try and break these guys. Do what Brett did. Take the 270 to 1, make it 360 to 1, if applicable, and break these guys. Okay? Please. Begging you.
Yeah, and most of these apps too, you get like a $10 max bet, but that one in MGM is $50. So fire away.
Woo! And even still, like, that's another reason why if you're getting maxed on your wager amount, just stop. There's no point in doing these small, whatever, boosted to minus 220. Get out of here. Get some stones and try to break these guys. All right. That was fun. An hour of football. We'll be back next week with some player props. Then the week after that, we will set the table for week 1. Again, join the Discord, bit.ly/Discord Moose. Follow these guys on Twitter, at Donnie_Peters, at Brett Colson, and at Mo Nuwara. NUWWARAH. I'm at Rich T. Ryan. We'll be back next week to talk some more football. It's almost here. Peace out.